Hey everybody, I just want to do a follow-up part 2 on the last video on render modes because I realized there's still a little bit I didn't touch on that's actually pretty important. So I'm just going to show you guys exactly how the rendering order actually works here. So I've set up a little test here. We have 3 different planes. So I have a yellow plane, a blue plane, and a red plane. I also have this bush. So this yellow plane here is render mode 22. You see in the bottom right, so 22, so that's layer 3. This blue one is 16, layer 2. Red one is 11, layer 1, and this one is 0D. So since this is layer 3, 22, it's going to render in front of the blue, the red, and the bush. And if I go in here, see the blue one, it renders in front of red and the bush, but it doesn't render in front of this path, which is important to note, because this path, you saw the last video, is 1A, which is the transparency decal option. So keep in mind that only 22 will render in front. It's very important if you have transparent models that are going to be placed in front of a decal that you're using. So make sure those are always 22. And sometimes that'll also apply to certain effects that you use in the map. So for example, I believe fire. So if the fire effect it's not 22, it's somewhere 11 or 16 or something. Essentially, if I had a fire effect right here in front of this path, the path would render in front of it, so it would screw up your effect. So just keep that in mind. You'll have to find a workaround, either change the 1A decal that you're using, or change the position of the fire. Okay, so just keep in mind there's 3 layers to this, and then also just keep in mind that 0D everything will always render in front of 0D, but 0D is useful for anything that has these invisible pixels around the bush. Okay, so I have another demo here. So here's another example. You'll see if I move back and forth like this, it fights between the blue or the red plane here, and these are both 11. So they're both layer 1. And we'll just say they have to both be layer 1 for some reason. Maybe I can't do 22 or 16 because I have 1A up top, and I don't want it rendering in front of it. You could do layer 2, but you could do a layer 2. But let's just say for this example, they have to both be 11. So how do you stop this fighting? It's very simple, but it's also kind of a janky workaround. So the way the game chooses what renders first, if they're exactly the same render mode, is the model center. So you see this transform gizmo, it's going to be around the center of the model. And this just happens to be the exact same center as the blue one. So they're the same center, they're just different on different y-axes. However, the game is going to render them based on your z-axis or your x-axis from where you're standing. So since they both have the same z and the same x-axes, they're going to fight with each other. So to fix that, say I want the blue one to render in front all the time, I'm just going to take the triangle and I'm going to clone just one triangle. And then I'm going to scale this triangle down. I'm going to keep scaling it until I just have a single vertice, until they're completely collapsed. So now you see there's nothing there anymore. It's turned into a single vertice. And I'm just going to move this back. And now when I select this whole object, it's going to select the original 2 triangles plus this vertice that I moved all the way here, and you'll see that the model center has moved to be between those 2. So now it's in front of this red one, and the blue will always render in front of the red from here on out. So keep that in mind when you're making your maps. You want to make sure that whatever you want to render first, if they're sharing similar render modes with other models and you're having problems, just make sure that those models, there's the center of those models are in front of the ones you want to render in front of. Okay, and you can do it if for some reason you wanted this. So again, I have two planes here. I have a red and a blue one, and they're both 22. Okay, so they're both layer 3. And say for some reason I want this blue wall to render in front of this red wall. Well, it can't do that because the model center of the red one is in front of the blue one. So it's always going to render the red one in front. Again, you can just take the blue, move the triangle back, and collapse it. And now the blue one is rendering in front of the red one. And it might be a little hard to see, but I'm sure you'll see if I delete it. See? The red one now renders in front because I deleted the triangle and it moved the model center back. If I undo that and I move the model center over here, blue one will render in front of the red one. Okay? It's that simple. Just keep that in mind when you're setting up your render modes. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers all of that, textures and render modes. So thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave comments in the comment section. And until the next one, see ya.